What's going on, everybody? Mr. Raven Hollywood here. As far as telling stories of myself, I want to give some examples of why I support the police. Um, Now, in every other scenario I've given, I've always said I understood that there was bad as good as well as good. And I believe that there are dirty cops as there are good cops. Um, but luckily, my stories all involve good cops. The first time I ever had a an experience with a cop where I was in handcuffs, I was 17. Um, Me and one of my friends at the time decided to go to another friend's house. We went there to go smoke some stuff. We went there, we got high and fell asleep right afterwards. A few hours later, my buddy goes, "I'm gonna go home, dude." I said, "Okay." And I just fell back to sleep. I woke up a little bit later. I said, "I'm gonna go home too." Now, I had one of those sword dagger canes where you unscrew the head and it pops out with a dagger, or it was a sword or a dagger. I can't remember which, but it was a blade. And my buddy thought it was a good idea to take it with us. I didn't want him to. I asked him not to, but he insisted. So, obviously, when I left, I took it with me. Or I took it with me to take it home. Now I was walking home, and between my friend's place and my place, well, my mom's place, I should say, there was a gas station where a lot of the cops in the town liked to hang out after it was dark. It was like it was right in the middle of town. So they would hang out there until they got a call on their radio. Now, mind you, my mom worked at a different gas station in town. So she knew a lot of the cops. And I was friends with the chief of police in this town at the time. And I was friends with a couple of the cops in town. And then I was also friends with one of the higher ups of the county cops. I was walking home and I had my cane with me, and all of a sudden I heard someone yell, "Sir," repeatedly. I stopped and I was looking around, and sure enough, it was a police officer at this gas station that was in the middle of the town. Um, I walked up to him. I said, "Yes, sir. How can I help you?" And he goes, puts his hand on his gun, unclips the gun, and goes, "I need you to do me a favor. I need you to put down that cane." And I noticed that he unclipped his gun. And I was like, I'm not trying to get shot today, so I placed it on the ground like he asked. And he goes, "All right, do me a favor, just step back just a little bit so I can grab it." I said, "Not a problem." So I stepped back and I stood there. He walked up to the cane and he goes, "Is anything going to come out of this if I take off the head?" I said, "Yep." And he goes, "What?" I said, "A blade." So sure enough, he unscrewed the head off the cane and pulled it out, and blade came out. He goes, "All right." He goes, "Do me a favor, put your hands behind your back." I said, "Not a problem." I turned around, put my hands behind my back. He handcuffed me. He asked me some questions. I answered his questions. Now, mind you, while this was going on, there were kids that liked to make fun of me because of who I was and because of how I dressed and everything. And at the end, the officer looked at me. He goes, "All right, well, I'm gonna cut you loose. You were respectful." He goes, "We'll let you go home, but you might get a summons here soon." I said, "Okay." I went home, told my mom what happened, so she didn't get freaked out because she got a letter, a phone call, or somebody put from the police station came and visited her at work. Now the day after that, the chief of police called my mom, told her the situation, and then he asked to speak with me. He goes, "What were you thinking?" And I was like, obviously, one, I wasn't, and two, honestly, wasn't my fault. He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, a friend of mine wanted to bring it with us because he thought it was cool." And he goes, "Okay." I said, I told him no, originally, but he didn't want to listen to me. Chief of police goes, "Okay, well, you're not getting a ticket. You're not going to go to jail. I'm not pressing any charges on you." He goes, "What I did was," and this is exactly what he said, "I cut the tip off." So I thought I still have the blade. He goes, "You can come back to the police station and pick it up." I said, "Okay." So my mom took me to the police station and went inside and went to get my blade, my cane. I unscrewed the handle and blade is completely gone. I looked at the chief of police. I was like, "You said you just cut the tip off." He goes, "Well, I meant the entire blade." I was like, "Oh, that sucks, but at least I'm not going to jail." So that was the first time that I've ever had an experience with a police officer. Um, but he let me go because I was honest and I wasn't disrespectful to him in any shape, way, or form. Let's see here. Next time I was involved with a police officer, mm, no, it wasn't. This time it wasn't even my fault. Um, my ex-wife was driving. She was my girlfriend at the time, but she decided to take a right on a red light that said right by the red light, no turns on red. But she did anyways. And there was a cop right there. Cop pulled us over. My ex-wife started freaking out. I looked at her. I was like, "Just calm down. Just calm down. Answer his questions. Don't freak out, because that's what's gonna get us in trouble." And the cop walked up and talked to my ex-wife. Then saw me, talked to me. We answered all of his questions. And I believe it was actually her birthday. So the cop looked at her ID and goes, "Oh, today's your birthday. Happy birthday." And she goes, "Yeah." So the cop just let us go with a warning because it was her birthday. And we went home. And that was the end of that one. Let's see. Leave the next time we had a involvement with a cop was the night before our wedding, actually. We were driving home from our rehearsal wedding. Cop pulled us over for, I believe, speeding. Or she ran a red light. Or tried to run a yellow light that just turned red. Yeah, that's what it was. It was the light. It was yellow and then just turned red, but she sped through it. Cop pulled us over. We told him, "Sorry, we just got done with our wedding rehearsal. We're trying to get home so we can go to sleep so we can get ready for tomorrow." Answered all of his questions. Cop was like, "Well, congratulations on the wedding. Hope everything goes good. You'll have yourselves a good night." We went home. No ticket, no nothing. And the next time I had a problem with a cop, I just started doing dialysis. Now, if you don't know anything about dialysis, it puts a very, very big strain on your body. So when I would do my dialysis treatment, come home, get something to eat like the doctor said, and I would go to bed like the doctor said for me to do. My son knew how to unlock the door. Now, On my dialysis days, I always asked my ex-wife to take our son to her mom's or to her sister's or to somebody's place that can watch him for a few hours so I can come home from dialysis, I can go to sleep, and she could take him, drop him off, and she can go to work, and then I'd wake up a few hours later, I'd go pick him up. She didn't like that. I'm sorry. I don't know what else you want me to do. She goes, you're supposed to watch him. You're supposed to take care of him. I'm like, listen. I'm sick. I'm doing the best that I can. Give me a little break. Well, this day she decided not to. She decided, well, he's already asleep. So I'm just going to leave my son here and go to work. Now, at this point, my son has already done this a couple of times. He's realized that he's home with dad. Dad is asleep. I know how to unlock the door. I'm going to unlock the door. I'm going to go outside and play. Luckily, I had neighbors who kept an eye on outside for strange things. And seeing a toddler just walking down the street by himself, strange. So they saw him and they called the cops. This particular day, I woke up and I just had this feeling. Get your ass out of bed. So I jumped up out of bed and I yelled for my son. Just to see if he was inside. And I get out of bed, walk out of my bedroom, and as soon as you walked out of our bedroom, you saw the front door. And as soon as I walked out of my bedroom, I saw the front door. I saw the front door was opened. I knew my son got outside. So I instantly start panicking. But luckily, one of my neighbors saw my son walking down the street and they called the cops. And more importantly, my son knew exactly which house he lived in. And told the cops. Well, I woke up and sure enough, here comes the cops. They walked up to me and they were like, "Sir, is this your son?" I was like, "Yes, that is my son." So the cops put my son down and they told him to go to daddy. So my son came to me. I picked him up. I said, "Boy, you know you're not supposed to do this." My son looked at me and goes, "I know, Dad, I'm sorry." I was like, if it wasn't for these police officers, you could have been hurt. Police officers walked up to me and looked at me and goes, "You want to explain this?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I said, well, I am sick. I am on dialysis. Today was my dialysis day. I just got home. And like every other dialysis day, I go right to bed. They're like, "Where's your wife?" I was like, "Oh, she's at work." they asked me, why didn't you guys find a sitter? And I said, I've been telling I've been telling my wife that we need to get a sitter for him for my dialysis days. So the cops were more angry with her than me. Ironic. But there's another time that I could have been put in handcuffs and taken to jail. But I wasn't. And then the last time I had an involvement with the police, my one of my best friends at the time moved up north with his girlfriend. And he's been bugging me to come up north to see his new place, see his land, yada, yada, yada. So, me and my son took a trip up north to go see him. And he lived quite a bit of a ways away. And we're on the highway driving. I was going a whole hell lot faster than what the cop caught me at. The only reason why that was because, one, I had my GPS on, and my GPS, people could tag certain locations where police were. So I saw on my GPS that someone tagged the police, and I slowed down. Didn't slow down fast enough. I believe the cop caught me going 10 over. And as soon as I saw the cop, I knew the cop was going to pull me over. I knew it. So I instantly just got on the side of the road, turned on my emergency blinker. Cop got behind me, walked up and was like, I'm pulling you over. I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah. And so I gave my cop my information. My son in the back seat was going, Dad, what are we doing? And I said to my son, well, Daddy was doing something that he shouldn't have. And Daddy got caught. And Daddy's got to pay the price. And sure enough, that's when the cop came walking back up. And he heard me say these things to my son. And the cop was like, well, this is what I'm going to do for you. He goes, I'm going to only write you over for 5 over. He goes, that is going to be a ticket, but it's not going to be any points on your license or anything like that. I was like, okay. He goes, but you got to keep it to the speed limit. I was like, fair. And the cop let me go. That's what I don't understand about people these days. People are so entitled, and they believe that they can be rude to the cops and get away with it. It's not the way it works. Treat a cop with respect, and the cop will repeat the same thing. Treat you with respect. Chances are, you'll probably just be let go. Now, not going to say that you're not going to have a summons. You might get a summons, depending on the issue. But if you treat the cop with respect at that specific point, at the beginning of the investigation and throughout the investigation, chances are you could be let go. Just some food for thought.